In this video, I want to show you how to replace the AC condenser located right behind your front grille area. Now on the top of our power steering reservoir, we have our cap right here. So I want to go ahead, twist that open, pop that out. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside. Now I'm going to go ahead and use this evacuation tool to go ahead and pull the power steering fluid out of our reservoir. You're going to have a container, a bucket, anything like that that you can go ahead and put this fluid into. You want to be prepared to properly dispose of this fluid as well once you're done with your job. But we're going to continue to do this until this reservoir is pretty much empty. At this point here, our reservoir is empty. We can go ahead and remove our bucket here, set that aside. Now on the bottom side here, right on the base of our wheel well area on the passenger side, there's going to be some plastic buttons here holding our lower splash guard to the fender liner. We're going to use our trim tool. We're just going to go up in here and we're just going to pop off the little buttons that are in here holding these together. Ours don't all match, so it looks like someone was already in here playing with these before. We're actually missing a button over here, and we have a zip tie there, or some sort of anchoring strap. We're gonna go ahead and pop that off, remove that, and let's go ahead and do the same for the driver's side. Okay, pop these buttons out here. On the front cross member, we have two 10mm bolts. Across the lower front portion of the bumper, there's a series of 7mm screws. Let's get to loosen and remove these. The little retaining clips on the back side here have come loose, so we need to grab that with a pair of pliers. And go ahead and remove those there. Now we get the screws removed. You gotta lower this down. Now in the center of these buttons right here, I want to go ahead and push in the center. And do this to the 3 plastic buttons holding these in place. I'm going to switch over to our trim tool. I'm going to get inside here and go ahead and pop these buttons out. Let's go ahead and release all 3 of these. And we'll go ahead and repeat the process for the other side. Now you want to go ahead and peel back your fender liner, and right up inside here there's going to be a single 10mm bolt. Let's go ahead, loosen, and remove that. Go ahead and repeat for the passenger side. On the bottom side here, I want to go ahead and disconnect your fog lights. I'm going to turn these counterclockwise, pop out that light. And up top, up inside, there is your marker light. I want to go ahead and disconnect that harness up top. Now right here on the back side of our bumper edge here, there's going to be a second bolt that we want to get to. It's also a 10mm, so we're going to go ahead and use a long extension, put our socket on there. We're going to go ahead and remove this bolt. Once this is out, we're going to repeat for the passenger side. All right, so now we have this bolt loose. We'll go ahead and remove this. Let's go ahead and pop out our little filler panels right here. Do this for both driver and passenger side. Go ahead and set those aside. Across the top of your grill, you're going to have 4 of these plastic push pins. You want to go ahead and use your trim tool. Go ahead and remove those. Repeat for the other 3. At this point here, now that we have all of our pieces of hardware removed, securing the bumper, let's go ahead and grab the driver's side lower edge here, and we're going to just grab this bumper and pull forward, like so. I'm going to work our way across the top here. Do the same on the passenger side now. Pull it straight forward. And we'll go ahead and grab the upper portion with the grill and just wiggle this off. And set that down. Now on the passenger side, right below the headlamp and behind the impact beam here, there's a connector here, and this connector goes to all of the wires and the harness that goes to all of your bumper lights. What we want to do is disconnect this harness so we can go ahead and continue to separate the bumper from the vehicle. So I'm going to go ahead and use a pocket screwdriver, and you want to go ahead and just pry this a little bit here, disconnect that harness. Now we have that harness disconnected, we can remove the entire bumper. We're going to go ahead and use our plastic trim tool to go ahead and separate this air diverter right here. This is on the driver's side lower portion. We want to pop out the pin on this. Once this pops out, we're going to go ahead and do the same on the passenger side. It is now loose. On the front side right here, there's going to be 2 10mm bolts. One on the passenger side here. And then we'll get the driver's side here. Now on the passenger side here, we have this little plastic tray right here. We're going to use our trim tool, pop out this little plastic button. Pop that out. That's going to allow this unit to move around a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the driver's side. Now I want to go ahead and unbolt our AC condenser from our radiator. There's 4 bolts. There's 2 on the driver's side here, 1 here, and there's 1 down below. Let's go ahead and loosen and remove those. All right, get those 2 out. I want to go ahead and disconnect our power steering cooler here. I want to separate the lines from it. We're going to use our clamp tools here. And what this is going to do is pretty much pinch off the lines and keep the fluid from running out from the lines themselves. We'll have some residual left in the cooler itself when we disconnect the hoses. Let's go ahead and use our pliers here, and we're going to open up these clamps and slide them back. Just grab that hose, just give it a little twist here, make sure that's loose. We're going to do the same for the other side. I'm going to disconnect our cooler from our condenser here. You're just going to pinch in on the upper and lower tabs, pull forward, do the same on this side here. It's now separated from the condenser. So now go ahead and separate our hoses. All right, let's go ahead and pop the other side out. Now on the passenger side, I want to go ahead and remove this plastic trim right here. I'm going to use our trim tool. I'm going to go ahead and pop this little button off here, a little retainer holding this harness. Simply just give it a little wiggle woggle here and pop that off. That should allow us to hop on in here and just kind of manipulate it out of the way. Go ahead and pop the harness off the bottom side. Do the same on the bottom here. Just give that a little wiggle here. Pop that off. What we want to do is move this so that we can get this out of the way. Now that we have this out here, we're going to go ahead and set this aside. We're going to repeat the same process for the driver's side. Now before unbolting your AC condenser, you want to have this professionally evacuated of the Freon that's inside this unit. All right, so do that before you tackle this job here. We're going to use a 13mm socket. We're going to loosen and remove this upper nut here for this AC line. I'm going to spin that out, and then there's one on the bottom we're going to go ahead and remove as well. Now these AC lines are also sealed and held in with rubber O-rings going into the condenser. So it might require a little bit of force to go ahead and pop these units out of this here. I'm going to go ahead and grab that line there. Wiggle that and pull that out. There's the rubber O-ring right here. I'm going to do the same for the upper one. Now our particular vehicle has automatic transmission cooler lines going to the upper portion of our AC condenser unit here. So you want to go ahead and pull back on these black collars. I'm going to use a small pick here, and there are little retainer clips inside here you want to go ahead and remove. You want to be careful when doing this here because these are little spring clips and they can pop off and shoot across the room. Once you get your pick in there, you can go ahead and open that up, and there's that clip right there. I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the bottom here. There's the second one. Now what we should be able to do, should be able to wiggle these lines a little bit. Pop those out. Now we do have a towel or rag underneath here. You can have a catch can or a little bucket if you want. And pop that out. At this point here, we should be able to slowly manipulate our unit up and out of the vehicle. On the front side here of our AC condenser, we have our power steering oil cooler brackets here, and it goes through. We're going to use our plastic trim tool here and just going to get behind. I want to go ahead and gently work the plastic retainer button off here, and then we'll pull this out through the front, like so. Once you have that out, go ahead and repeat for the other side. Now our cooler brackets here actually get pressed right through the cooling fins here. On our old unit, we counted down 5 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to go into this section here. What you now want to do is take your oil cooler. You pretty much line this up. We're going to pop our clips on to both ends here. We're going to line this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to generally center this. Go ahead and push this through our fins like so. Do the same for the other side. Once that's in place, I'm going to go ahead and install our little retainer buttons here. Do the same for the other side over here. And at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to open this up here. I'm going to release our oil cooler. Make sure these are locked on pretty good. And we're now going to install the AC condenser back into the vehicle. Let's go ahead and line this up. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring our transmission lines over to the side, and I'm going to go ahead and anchor our AC condenser to our radiator first. I'm going to go ahead and get all 4 of these bolts started here. All right, we have the 2 upper ones in. Let's go ahead and install the 2 lowers. Now that we have all 4 bolts threaded in, let's go ahead and snug those down. There we go. Once that screw bottoms out, just give it a little bit more. Let's go to the upper one here. All right, it's bottomed out, about a 1/4 turn more. All right, bottomed out a little bit more. And we'll get our last bolt down here. And on the top here, we have our ports for our transmission coolers here, cooler lines. Now this already comes with clips installed in it. So I'm going to go ahead and go to our lower line here. Line that up and basically just push that in. That'll snap in. You'll feel it and hear it. Do the same for the top. Go ahead and snap your little collars back into place. And go ahead and wipe down any of the residual transmission fluid here. I'm going to go ahead and unbolt our AC line caps here. Now sometimes these units are pressurized from the factory. There might be a little bit of air built up in that system. We'll go ahead and do the bottom one as well. And pull out the little rubber plugs there. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and install our lower AC line. You want to go ahead and inspect the O-ring here, make sure everything is in good condition. If these lines or rubber rings look torn or worn, you definitely want to replace them now. In our case here, we're going to go ahead and just line that up. I want to press that in. Now once that's popped in and seated, go ahead and install the nut and stud. Now that we have our lower stud in there, let's go ahead and snug that down. You want to make sure when you tighten this down here that this goes in straight and nice and flush. Ours is seating perfect. So once that stud bottoms out, give it about a quarter turn. I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the upper one. Let's go ahead and line this up. Pop that right in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to install our lines here first. Go ahead and slide that on. Do the same for the other side. You want to be careful not to crush these cooling fins here. Now at this point, we go ahead and line this up. Kind of rest them in place here. I'm going to use my pliers and move our clamps back into position here. Once we get that side on, we'll go ahead and repeat for the other side. I do want to make sure that that hose is on all the way. At this point here, let's go ahead and release our hose clamps here. Let's go ahead and secure our unit into place. Simply presses back and onto those clips. It'll snap in. Do the same for the other side. We'll go ahead and install our air diverters right here. Now these here can be a little tough to get into place. Just have to manipulate the wires and stuff around to get around here. Now once you have this in its general location, you can go ahead and install the wire harness little push pins here that holds the harness in place. There's one up top. Just follow it down. There's one down below. Then we have this one down below here. Pop that into place. And on the top here, and get this lined up. Install our plastic push pins here. On the bottom here, use your push pin here. Let's do the same for the other side. Now that we have that lined up, I'm going to go ahead and install our plastic pin here. And let's get the one put in on the bottom. You want to make sure that this goes underneath this tab down here. Then this will come up through the bottom. Pop that in and snap it in, and there you go. Then we'll go ahead and bring your bumper up into place. You want to be careful bringing that up so you don't scratch the paint on your fender. And what we're going to do is go ahead and hang the upper portion of the bumper on the support. Let's go around to the driver side, and we're going to go ahead and tuck that up into place. I'm going to go ahead and bring the bumper up and fit it right into this notch here. Slide that back into place. Let's go ahead and repeat that same process for the passenger side. And we have our bolt there. Let's go ahead and get that started a few threads. Let's go ahead and repeat the process for the driver's side. Go ahead and install our plastic push pin here. Install our push pin on the driver's side here. Across the top of your bumper area, go ahead and install your push pins here. We want to go ahead and install our filler panels right here. If you notice, there's a little tab right here, and that will actually interlock with this base here once we assemble it. Now these also have metal clips that will lock in to the top here. So we want to go ahead and set these down into place. I'm going to interlock the center piece right now, make it a little bit easier. Once that's interlocked, we'll go ahead and line this up. Snap that down into place, line this up, snap that down, and we're all set. Let's go ahead and start to install our screws here. We have the forward one here, and then we have the one closer to the back side of the fender. And get that started. Let's go ahead and get the other one in. Now that we have both of these started, what you want to do is make sure that the bumper itself lines up with the body lines on the fender itself. Then we'll go ahead and snug those down. Once those are tight, we'll go ahead and repeat this process for the other side. We want to go ahead and attach our fender liner to our bumper itself. Now, a couple of our plastic buttons had broken, so we sourced out a couple other ones. If yours are in good shape, go ahead and install those. I'm going to go ahead and get mine installed. Once you have these done here, you want to go ahead and repeat this process for the passenger side. Now let's go ahead and take our wiring harness from our front bumper and let's bring it up, and we're going to connect that into the body harness here. Press it up, you can feel it in here, it lock into place. Let's go ahead and put our under engine splash shield up and in. With our splash shield in its general location, we're going to go ahead and install the 2 screws on the back side here. Once we get those installed, we'll go ahead and snug them down. All right, let's go ahead and install our 2 rear screws here. All right, once we have these 2 caught, let's go ahead and snug those down. Let's go ahead and install our screws into our retaining clips here. I'm going to get a few of these started by hand first, then we'll go ahead and snug them down. Go ahead and start snugging these down. You're just going to complete the same process across the whole front side and onto your 2 edges. You just want to snug those. Once you feel them stop, then it's pretty much maxed out. And just continue for the rest of these. Now I'm going to go ahead and install the 3 plastic push pins on the driver's side. This one here, when you're pushing it in, you might be able to use a flathead screwdriver on the back side just to apply some pressure to the fender liner. Pull it forward, lock them together. Once you have these 3 in, go ahead and repeat for the passenger side. And we'll get these 2 in here. Once we snug this down, you can go ahead and repeat the process for the passenger side. Now that we have everything assembled, we can now go ahead and fill up our reservoir. Go ahead and open up the cap here. You can go ahead and identify the information on here. It has a full hot, add. Well, this is brand new and the engine hasn't been running. So you flip it over and there's a full cold and add. At this point here, we're going to use the full cold. We're going to fill the reservoir until it is up to this here. Start up the vehicle, let it run, cycle that system back and forth. And then we can flip it over to the hot and double check it. Just set that on the side. Use the recommended power steering fluid from the manufacturer. I'm going to go ahead and twist that on, pop that back out. We're still not on the stick here, but what we're going to do is continue to fill this until we're at the full cold, and then continue with our process of double checking the fluid with it warmed up. Now at this point here, we're at the full cold mark, so we should be good to go. If you want at this point here, you can start up the vehicle, cycle that steering, and then just double check it. But at this point here, we're good to go.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.